Imagine the Indianapolis Colts playing the New York Giants in the Super Bowl. Peyton versus Eli Manning. It could have happened, but now it probably won't. It did happen with two other brothers, not in an NFL game, but on streets and drag strips. Oldsmobile 442 W-30 versus Buick GS 455 Stage 1. A body brothers each considered the gentleman's muscle car. Sibling rivals from the era when GM divisions competed more with each other than with Ford, Chrysler, or AMC. John Z. DeLorean started it all with a third brother, the 1964 Pontiac GTO. Olds dropped a 400 cube, 4-barrel dual exhaust into the Cutlass to create the 442 a few months later. When the 1965 Buick GS arrived within a year, it technically violated GM's 400 cubic inch displacement limit for a-body cars. Badged as 400, its Wildcat V8 was a 401 cube, nailhead, V8. For years, the GTO was the king and the 442 its more refined, better handling sibling, while the Buick GS remained a subtle, relaxed contender on the sidelines. But when GM finally lifted the engine size limit in 1970, Buick was ready to make its move, armed with a monster 455 engine and an ambition to prove it was more than just a comfortable cruiser. The stage was set for a brief but legendary family feud, a body brothers in arms, the Buick GS 455 versus Oldsmobile 442 W-30. By the time upscale Buick finally challenged Olds in the muscle car race, it was already over. Imagine the Indianapolis Colts playing the New York Giants in the Super Bowl. Peyton versus Eli Manning. It could have happened, but now it probably won't. It did happen with two other brothers, not in an NFL game, but on streets and drag strips. Oldsmobile 442 W-30 versus Buick GS 455 Stage 1. A body brothers each considered the gentleman's muscle car. Sibling rivals from the era when GM divisions competed more with each other than with Ford, Chrysler, or AMC. John Z. DeLorean started it all with a third brother, the 1964 Pontiac GTO. Olds dropped a 400 cube, 4-barrel dual exhaust into the Cutlass to create the 442 a few months later. When the 1965 Buick GS arrived within a year, it technically violated GM's 400 cubic inch displacement limit for a-body cars. Badged as 400, its Wildcat V8 was a 401 cube, nailhead, V8. GM replaced its 1964-67 A-bodies with new 1968 models, with new sheet metal scheduled for every 2 years. Through 69, the GTO was GM's preeminent muscle car, and the 442 was its more refined brother, with better handling. The subtle, more relaxed GS wasn't a contender. GM did away with its 400 cube limit for the 1970 model year, and Buick was ready, especially after the 1969 Opel GT launch. The increase in showroom floor traffic when the GT went on display early in April was almost unbelievable, reads the Buick Engineering Production Information Department's outline of the 1970 GSX. Some Buick dealers reported 5,000 people through their showrooms in one weekend. Paul Haddock, owner of the 1972 Buick GS 455 Stage 1 on these pages, sent a copy of that report. He also owns a 1970 Stage 1 hardtop and a 1971 GS 455 convertible. The GSX, a 455 cubic inch Buick A-body with mod graphics typical of the era, would be the Skylark's Halo model, which Buick hoped might help close the model's 50,000 unit annual sales gap relative to the Olds Cutlass. When torque came to shove, it wasn't the GSX, with un-Buick-like flat black stripes on deep yellow paint, that gave the GS street cred. It was the Stage 1455. It's the car that beat the Hemi Cuda, allows Mike Bivens, owner of the 1971 Olds 442 W-30, sharing these pages with Haddock's Stage 1. Like Manning versus Manning, the Olds versus Buick muscle car rivalry would be short-lived. Car insurance rates were rising steeply by the late 60s, and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, established in December 1970, enacted immediate restrictions on leaded premium fuel. Stricter regs were due in 1975. Olds and Buick lowered the compression ratio on their blueprinted 1971 W-30 and Stage 1 engines from 10.5.1 to 8.5.1 and complied with a mandated switch from say gross to net horsepower reporting. By 1972, the Hemi Cuda that Buick beat in 70 was gone, and the Plymouth Pony's top engine was a 260 HP, 340 cubic inch V8. A year later, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries staged their first oil embargo. Despite the almost total demise of the high-compression, premium fuel engine, the 71 supercars have managed to retain their essential vitality, A.B. Schumann wrote in the October 1970 issue of Motor Trend. In Schumann's story, the Buick GS 455 Stage 1 edged a 71 W-30 prototype with a 4-speed stick and 70 sheet metal, recording a 6.5-second 0-60 run to the Olds 6.6. It was quicker than the GTO, Chevy Chevelle SS 454, Camaro Z28, and Plymouth Roadrunner. Schumann asked Olds for an automatic W-30 to see what effect its combo of torque converter and different valve timing would have. It beat the Buick with a 6.1-second 0-60. The amazing thing, considering all that's happened just in the area of emissions controls, Schumann wrote, is that a car that runs like the GS Stage 1 could still exist. It was faster than the manual GTO and W-30 automatic of 1972, beating the latter by 0.8 seconds in 0-60 mph times and by 0.4 seconds and 5 mph in the quarter. Haddock's 1972 Stage 1 exists only because a 1971 United Auto Workers strike delayed GM's Colonnade, a body replacements by one model year. Ad Huckster, Dr. Oldsmobile's 442 was a separate model from 1967 to 71, then became an option package on Cutlasses again in 1972. The 72 facelifts were minimal, with chrome headlamp surrounds as on Bivens' car on the 71 Olds and Buick, flat black surrounds as on Haddock's car on the 72s, and tweaked grille meshes. Bivens' Olds doesn't have the two vertical pieces that split the tail lamps into thirds like the 72 models. Black rubber trim surrounds the tail lamps on Haddock's 1972 GS, but not on his 71. The Olds is the epitome of Bill Mitchell's organic fuselage surfacing, with a large, split grille and a sleek fastback with strong, muscular rear shoulders. The Buick is sublime with two small ram air intakes near the center of the hood, where the W-30 has two gigantic golden scoops. Side surfacing is more creased, lending the GS a kind of abstract Coke bottle shape. Haddock has restuffed his driver's seat, so you sit high in the Buick. Both tachometers are hard to read behind thin-rimmed steering wheels. The Oldsmobile's tach is of the tick-tock variety, and Bivens' car features a Hurst dual-gate shifter, with a separate gate for manual shifting. It's easier to simply set either turbo hydromatic in drive and put your foot to the floor. The steering in both cars has more play than a kindergarten gym. Neither has the kind of lean or wallow most contemporaries would display even on gentle turns. Though it feels slightly quicker, the GS has less squat and tighter, more refined body control. Those huge ram air intakes on the W-30 makes the Oldsmobile feel bigger from behind the wheel. Its engine warmed, the W-30 starts immediately. The Stage 1 needs a quarter throttle. Haddock put 70 Stage 1 10.5 pistons in his 72 because, why wouldn't I? Both are stronger cars than other 70s muscle cars, their power coming on strong at the mid-range, with a NASCAR growl that would do a modern car proud. The rivalry was indeed short-lived. A perfect storm was brewing that would extinguish the brilliant flame of the muscle car era. It wasn't one single event, but a convergence of forces that made these cars untenable. The first wave of attack came from the insurance industry. By the late 1960s, actuaries had identified a clear and costly correlation between high horsepower and high risk. Premiums for young drivers wanting to own a big block performance car skyrocketed, becoming as burdensome as the car payment itself, effectively pricing an entire generation of enthusiasts out of the market. The creation of the Environmental Protection Agency in December 1970 signaled a seismic shift in national priorities. The era of unchecked emissions was over. The first casualty was leaded premium gasoline, the lifeblood of the high-compression engines that were the heart and soul of these machines. This forced a dramatic change in engineering. For 1971, both Oldsmobile and Buick had to slash the compression ratios on their top-tier engines, the W-30 and the Stage 1, from a muscular 10.5 down to a wheezy 8.5 The difference in power was palpable. The mandated switch from the optimistic SAE gross horsepower ratings, measured on a perfectly blueprinted engine on a stand, to the more realistic SAE net ratings, which measured power as installed in the car with all accessories, made the performance drop seem even more catastrophic on paper. The knockout blow, however, came from halfway around the world. In 1973, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, initiated an oil embargo. Gas prices quadrupled almost overnight, and long lines at the pump became a national nightmare. The idea of driving a car that achieved single-digit miles per gallon became not just a financial burden, but a social and political statement. The gas-guzzling V8, once a symbol of American freedom and industrial might, was suddenly a pariah. As A.B. Schumann wrote in his Sayonara Supercar article, it was amazing that cars like the 72 Stage 1 could even exist in this new climate. But they were the last of their kind. The 1972 models, like the ones owned by Paul Haddock and Mike Bivins, are automotive ghosts, existing only because a UAW strike delayed their more neutered, colonnade replacements for a single year. After 71, the legendary 442 designation was relegated to a mere option package. After 72, the Hemi was dead, and the mightiest GTO was a ghost of its former self. The race was over, yet the legacy of these two A-body brothers endures. They represent the absolute pinnacle of what GM's divisions could achieve when the gloves were off. The Olds 442 W-30 remains a masterpiece of balanced performance, a car celebrated for its handling and refined power. And the Buick GS 455 Stage 1, the torque monster, finally gave the upscale brand the street credibility it had long deserved, proving that a gentleman's car could deliver a knockout punch. In the end, it doesn't matter which car was a tenth of a second faster. What matters is that for a brief, shining moment, these two siblings stood at the summit of the muscle car world, the last deep breaths of a golden age before the inevitable sunset.